Hello and welcome to my mini series focusing on the equipment and clothing that I'm taking with me on my upcoming expedition to the world's 8th highest mountain, Manaslu. Now if you're new here, thank you for joining me. I'm Callum, I'm a mountaineer and aspiring mountain guide. This series is going to examine everything that I'm going to take in order to trek into and climb my first 8,000 metre mountain. In today's episode, we're going to talk about clothing. Specifically, we're going to talk about the clothing that I plan on using on my trek into Manaslu Base Camp. Now, as you can imagine, the volume of stuff that you need in order to be on expedition for anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks is quite vast, and it probably will be ever so slightly different for everyone. So I'm going to show you what I think is going to work for me. It's definitely not a one size fits all, but I think I have a pretty good understanding, and I think I've dialed in the gear that I think I need for the trek from Bessihazar into Manaslu Base Camp. Now, this trek-in also takes in the Larke La, which is a high mountain pass that's just over 5,000 metres. So we're going from roughly about 800 metres all the way up to just over 5,000 and actually back down to Manaslu Base Camp, which sits about 4,800 metres. So let's just jump in. Let's start with the bottommost layer of clothing, and we'll talk a little bit about layering after I've just given you an overview of everything that I plan on taking. I think it's also important to say now that there will be a separate episode that specifically looks at climbing and high altitude clothing. So where are we? We are on our way to base camp. Now the bottommost layer is underwear. I tend to go with one of two different types of underwear. My favourite type of underwear is merino. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to underwear when I'm in the mountains, and I think merino is probably the best and my favourite option given the choice. I've got two pairs of merino underwear, and it's the Icebreaker Anatomicas, and I do this thing, this is just my personal preference, but I get them in two different lengths, so you can probably just about see this pair is a shorter leg and this pair is a longer leg, and depending on what I'm doing, I can mix and match. If I want a little bit of extra warmth, I can go for the longer pair. If I don't need it, I can go for the shorter pair. Now in total, I'm taking 5 pairs of underwear. 2 are merino and 3 are from Sax. Now, I'm relatively new to Sax underwear, but I've been really enjoying these specific ones, and these are I think they're called the multi-sport dry mesh, and out of all the underwear I've tried in the mountains, these probably come as close to merino as I've ever found. So I picked up a few pairs of these to complement my merino wool underwear. Now same idea, I've got 2 pairs of these in the shorter leg length, although still quite long. I think they're still 6-inch boxers, but I also have the longer length, which I think is closer to 9 inches, which I really do enjoy as well, because they come down to your knee. But yeah, I mean, underwear is pretty straightforward. You always need some good quality underwear. I think that's the key. Make sure it's good quality. The next layer is base layers for your legs. Now I've got a couple of different options, and I think that's probably the theme of my clothing, is that I have layering options. So we'll start with option number 1, which is a pair of Polar Tech leggings. I really like these. They are slightly more bulky compared to my merino wool leggings, but I think they do just as good a job. So yeah, I have Polartec, and then you've probably guessed, I have merino wool. Specifically, these are the 260 gram weights, so they're the heaviest merino wool weight that Icebreaker do. I'm a big fan of Icebreaker. They've never let me down. I'm not here to sell you Icebreaker, but in my experience, they just tend to last really, really well. And I have a third pair of base layers from my legs, and this one is actually, it's a fleece. So this is the Patagonia R1 fleece pant, and it's one of these, it's a bit of a hybrid layer, I would say, than that it can be worn as an outer layer, or it can be layered underneath a hard shell or a soft shell. But yeah, and what it does is it gives me, or what these do is they give me 3 really versatile options that I can go for. If I want something thick, like really thick, I can go for the fleece leggings. If I want like good quality merino, which a lot of the time you do, you have that. And then for the slightly cooler days, you've got Polartec as well. Should also be said that on the trek, certainly lower down, these won't be used. You know, below 3,000, 4,000 meters, I don't really foresee using any of these as part of my layering system, because I have my trusty mountain equipment Ibex trekking trousers. I love these. They're a fantastic soft shell trouser. Mountain Equipment have been, you know, pioneers in the outdoor clothing game for years, and they've absolutely nailed it with the Ibex trouser. I think it's an ideal weight for both walking and climbing, so it's super versatile, certainly to me. I have 2 pairs, and I'll probably take both pairs so that I have loads of flexibility regardless of whether I'm on the trek or on the climb. I also have a super lightweight pair of trekking trousers, and these probably won't get worn as walking trousers, i.e. on the trek. What I'm thinking I'll probably do is take these along and use these as my tea house trousers. So when I get to a tea house or camp at the end of a day, I'll chuck these on, so that that way these can dry out, because they'll probably be a little bit sweaty. But yeah, this is my sort of change of trousers, and I can also keep these at base camp and use these for lounging at base camp, and I can combine them with a set of leggings, and that way I've got, again, supreme flexibility. That's the key. That is the theme throughout this entire video, is that you want flexibility in your layering system. So yeah, 3 pairs of trekking trousers, 2 that I'll actually use for trekking and climbing, 1 that will just be my lounge and downtime trousers. Sticking with legs, I'll be carrying a pair of waterproof over trousers. These are my tried, trusted, thoroughly tested Bergos Pack Light trousers. They're 100% Gore-Tex. I reproof them pretty frequently. I sort of have to now. They've definitely got to that point in their lifespan where the DWR maybe only lasts a trip. Certainly it will last this trip. It might get, if it's heavy rain, heavy usage here in Scotland, you might get 2 or 3 trips out of it, but they've never let me down, and they will be staying in my backpack probably at all times. And yeah, and that's the legs. I think that's a pretty good flexible system. I feel confident that I can manage all of the temperatures, and more importantly all of the moisture conditions, certainly on the trek, with these items. Now let's move on to to tops. Now, again, I've got an array of different tops that I can use, not just for the trek, but also for when I'm at base camp and when I'm climbing higher on the mountain. The most lightweight of tops that I have starts at this end and sort of works its way up. I have just really standard, lovely, synthetic, super light Rab base layers, and I have another one by Montaigne. I really like Rab and Montaigne base layers because they're all treated with polygene, and polygene is a chemical treatment that gives them odour resistance, and once it's treated with polygene, it's in the fibres forever. It's a forever chemical, but I think in this instance you can sort of justify it because it means you don't need to take loads of different types of base layers, and I essentially have the exact same things but in long sleeves. So I've got short sleeves, long sleeves, and then this one it's a Montaigne Primino, which is their hybrid merino / synthetic base layer, which I really do enjoy, especially on colder days. I think this is absolutely a fantastic piece of clothing to add to your layering system. The final one is actually a little nod to the wonderful AC Fitness, who I have been working with over the past 6 months in order to be ready for this trip. So I'll be taking along my AC Fitness t-shirt and giving Alan a few little shout outs on the way up as well. Now, on top of the base layers, I have a selection of mid layers, the latest being my Rab Nexus fleece. Again, it's a really lightweight, versatile synthetic fleece, and it's also treated with polygene as well. You'll notice a theme here. I don't really want to smell on the trek if I can avoid it, not so much for me, but for the courtesy of other people. A great little layering piece. I also have a second one with a hood, which may well come with me as well, because there's nothing wrong with having a few options. But the options that I have here is a super lightweight fleece. I then have a heavier weight fleece, which is my Burgos Privitale. I really love this fleece. It's served me so well over the years, and it just holds up to everything. Like, I've used this in some of the worst conditions you can think of here in Scotland. You know, if Scottish winter cannot beat this fleece, then I think it's going to stand up really well in the Himalayas. And again, it's a thicker, heavier weight option for those colder days on the trail. And new for this specific trip is this guy. This is the Rab Vaporize Summit jacket, and again, it's a hybrid soft shell fleece, because on the outside it has the quantum air fabric, which is completely wind resistant. It does have a DWR, but I certainly wouldn't like to use it in heavy showers. But on the inside, it has a dropped fleece lining, which means that the outer layer and the inner layer are not connected. So it means there's actually an air gap between them. So this fleece and the air gap actually provides a level of warmth that you just really shouldn't be able to achieve with a jacket this light. However, this jacket is absolutely brilliant, and I think it's going to be a really useful addition to my layering system on this trip. Now, when it gets really cold, that is when I need to break out the boys behind me. And behind me I have my, again, tried and tested yellow Rab Xenon jacket, and I'm a huge fan of this jacket. I've had this jacket since 2018, I think. It's a fantastic jacket. I really love it. It's got a few patches on it here and there now, but that's not through any fault of the jacket, that's through my own fault. But it's mostly down to actually little burn marks from like fires, because I take it camping all the time, because again, its warmth to weight ratio is absolutely superb. Now the other jacket behind me is my Rab Positron. That's for when it gets really cold. And that jacket, specifically that one behind me, the red one, has been to the summit of Mira Peak at 6,500 meters, and I was toasty warm in it, so I know it can perform in some really cold and really harsh environments. And very similarly to the leg layers, all of these layers can be mixed and matched together. For example, you can use for warmer and milder days, you can use a really lightweight short sleeve base layer with a super lightweight fleece, and then if the wind picks up, you could chuck on the VR jacket, you could even chuck on the Xenon. Or if it's a little colder, you could put on one of the long sleeves with a slightly thicker fleece. And again, I always keep the Xenon in my backpack. 90% of the time it doesn't leave the backpack, but on those rare occasions where I do need to chuck it on, it's just fantastic. And then of course, we can't forget the hard shell. I never ever go into the hills without one. Doesn't matter if the forecast is for glorious sunshine, blue skies all day, this will still be in my bag, because it is my the last line of defense, I call it, because it's windproof, it's waterproof, and it's just a wonderful jacket. It's from Patagonia, it's the calcite jacket, and again, I've had it for a few years now, and I've reproofed it just to make sure the DWR is up to scratch. I think it's my favourite waterproof jacket that I've ever owned. I think the cut of it is absolutely superb. It's also got slightly higher pockets for when I'm wearing a harness on this trip. Yeah, I really like it. It is absolutely top quality. It's Gore-Tex, waterproof zips, just fantastic. Never ever leave home without that. Right, let's move on to the extremities and let's look at our hands. So similarly to both bottoms and tops, I think about layering for my hands also, and I have options again with my gloves. The smallest and thinnest gloves are some merino, 100% merino gloves. These are from Trekmates, and they have touchscreen capabilities, which I think is very important. I then have my favourite gloves, and these are actually from Decathlon. These are soft shell gloves. Again, they've got touchscreen capabilities, and I just find these to be really useful. They're lightweight, they're wind resistant, they're not waterproof, but they're really good. I tend to always have these specific gloves in my bag, regardless of what the season is. If it's winter, I'll carry two, so I'll definitely be taking both pairs on the mountain. I step up these gloves from Sealskins. Now these are completely waterproof, and they also have little like silicone patches across the palm for grip, and they also are touchscreen capable as well. I really do like these. I've definitely had these in some horrible conditions here in Scotland. And then a step up again are these synthetic and leather gloves, also from Decathlon. I think they're great if you're doing anything with like tools, specifically ice axes or crampons. Are really good. They're really hard wearing. They're not particularly warm, so when it gets really high on the mountain, I'll be switching into much bigger gloves, which I'll touch on in the next video. But yeah, really like it. Loads of flexibility here, loads of different options. And the same goes with my head. So you definitely want to make sure that your head's protected. You'll know if you've watched this channel for a while, I have my two classic beanies, my blue one and my red one. They're really good. I also have my cap, which I really like for keeping the sun off me as well. I have a few different buffs. This one's probably a bit of a spare buff at this point, if I'm honest, because I've had it for years. But the two that I'll use most often, lower down, I'll use this, which is a lightweight UV buff, which is really good, especially on like dusty trails. I'll have this to make sure that no dust gets into my mouth. And then higher up, I have this fleece-lined thermal buff, which is great because the fleece will really keep your neck warm. And then the extra thickness that you get with this sort of polar buff is going to be absolutely invaluable. Chances are this will come all the way to the summit with me. But aye, there you go. That's everything. That's all the clothes that I will be taking with me specifically for the trek. A lot of this can be used beyond base camp for sure, specifically like the soft shell pants and a lot of these trousers, the fleeces, the jackets, you know, that will absolutely be getting used higher on the mountain. But I think I've got enough flexibility in all of this to cope and cater for all of the different types of temperature varieties, as well as variety and moisture, which is a big thing when it comes to layering. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've found it useful and informative. Please do, if you have any thoughts, questions, queries, drop us a comment. It's always great to hear from people. If you've got any suggestions as well, you know, I'm always open to hearing new ideas. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one really soon.